Welcome to Movie Recap, a channel dedicated to those addicted to movies. Our focus is to showcase the best recap of your favorite flick. Sit back, grab your popcorn and get ready to be amazed by The Invisible Man. Cecilia Kass, a wealthy optical engineer and businessman, is trapped in a violent and dominating relationship with Adrian Griffin. One night, she drugs him with diazepam and, with the assistance of her sister Emily, leaves his home. Detective James Lanier, Cecilia's childhood friend, and his teenage daughter Sydney hide away together. Spoilers ahead. As she gets ready to leave her violent lover Adrian Griffin, Cecilia Kass wakes up in the middle of the night in the opening scene of the movie. With a camera on her phone, she watched him as she discreetly left the house after giving him a diazepam prescription, gathering her things, and turning off the alarms so as not to wake Adrian. Adrian's dog Zeus is coming out when Cecilia steps outside. When she takes off his shock collar, he unintentionally runs into a car, setting off the alarm. Cecilia has to go because she knows Adrian is rousing. Her sister Emily is waiting for her as she bolts from his estate and into the street. Adrian rushes over to Cecilia as she gets in the car and insists that she open the door. Before Cecilia can go, he even smashes the window of Emily's vehicle. Adrian then discovers the diazepam bottle that Cecilia had dropped. After 2 weeks, Cecilia has been residing with Detective James Lanier, a childhood acquaintance, and his daughter Sydney. For fear that Adrian may discover her, Cecilia has been too terrified to leave the house. James attempted to talk her into going outside, and she made it as far as the mailbox before running back inside when she saw a jogger, whom she mistook for Adrian. After that, Emily pays Cecilia a visit, which Cecilia finds annoying because Adrian is aware of her residence and believes he may have followed her to locate Cecilia. After, Cecilia is shown a news piece by Emily that claims Adrian committed suicide. Cecilia takes in the news while sitting in amazement. She tells Emily and James about Adrian's abuse and control over her, as well as how he desired a child, but Cecilia realized it would only make it harder for her to leave him, so she began taking birth control without telling him. When Cecilia and Emily visit with Tom, Adrian's brother, an attorney, he shows them his will, which claims Adrian left Cecilia a $5 million fortune, which she can enjoy if she can demonstrate her mental capacity and refrain from committing crimes. With this information, Cecilia opens an account for Sydney's college tuition and gives James a new ladder. The two are incredibly appreciative. Cecilia begins to get unsettling nighttime feelings, like someone is in the room with her. In an attempt to find Sydney and James, she goes outside the room, but they are not there. She steps outside into the chill, and her companion's breath is visible. Sydney and James are having breakfast prepared by Cecilia in the morning, but as she turns to face Sydney, an unseen force lowers the knife off the counter and increases the stove's heat, starting a minor fire that Sydney extinguishes swiftly. Cecilia and Sydney are sharing a bed later that night. They are covered by an unseen entity that silently snaps their photos. When Cecilia awakens and reaches for the cover, she notices what appear to be footsteps standing on top of the blankets. They approach her cautiously at first, but after feeling pushed, she shouts out for James. Sydney and James notice no one else in the room, despite her claims that there is someone else there. Later, Cecilia gets an interview at an architectural firm, and when she tries to bring her work to the meeting, she discovers that everything has been taken out of her bag. Before fainting, she begins a mild panic attack. When Cecilia undergoes blood tests later, it is shown that her system has significant levels of residues of benzodiazepines. To her dismay, she discovers Adrian's bloody fingerprints on the bottle she dropped in James's restroom. James and Cecilia go to speak with Tom, showing him the bottle and Cecilia telling him Adrian is fulfilling his earlier promise to follow her around and leave a sign for her. Cecilia thinks Adrian has discovered a means to become invisible because she is aware of his reputation as a pioneer in the field of optics. Tom disagrees, pointing out that he has pictures of the crime scene that show Adrian slit his wrists and that he also has an urn with Adrian's ashes. A little while later, Cecilia visits Emily, who is not pleased to see her because of an email that Cecilia sent. Emily doesn't believe Adrian is doing this, even though her sister is adamant that she didn't write it, so she sends her away. As Cecilia returns home and opens the email, she discovers that someone, possibly Adrian, wrote an angry letter to Emily in which it appears that Cecilia wishes Adrian had died rather than her. When Sydney enters, she discovers Cecilia sobbing over the email. Sydney gets hit in the face by the unseen force, leading her to believe that Cecilia struck her, as she offers to assist her. Sydney is taken away by James even though Cecilia begs to be corrected and insists it wasn't her. Once they depart, Adrian is challenged by Cecilia to come clean. After spilling coffee grounds on the floor, she remains in the bedroom, biding her time until he makes his presence known. Then, hearing Adrian's cell phone ring in the attic, she tries to call him. As she ascends to discover it, she notices an unidentified number writing, "Surprise." Cecilia assumes the invisible man is there before heading back downstairs, so she paints over him to make him visible. She returns downstairs, where she discovers he has removed the paint and the kitchen sink is running. The invisible man takes out a knife, snatches Cecilia, chokes her, and hurls her across the room. She battles back and makes it out of the house. Adrian's house is reached when Cecilia summons an Uber. After entering and making her way to his basement, she discovers a camera-covered contraption and an invisibility costume that explain why Adrian has been haunting her. She spots another pair of invisible footsteps in the closet as she hides there and tries to escape with the suit. After pushing the invisible man aside, she dashes back to the vehicle. Emily and Cecilia schedule a rendezvous at a restaurant. A knife floats between them as she starts to try and explain who she is and what she's learned about Adrian. After slashing Emily's throat, the invisible man puts the knife in Cecilia's hand, stabbing her. When they discover Emily dead and Cecilia in possession of the murder weapon, the other customers panic. As soon as the police arrive, they arrest her. She is taken to a mental health facility where she is restrained and put under sedation while yelling that Adrian killed Emily. When she hears Adrian mockingly remark, "Surprise," she knows he's in the room with her. For allegedly killing Emily, Cecilia is put to the test and questioned. She attempts to defend herself, but she worries Adrian is watching them in the room and will hear her. Cecilia's pregnancy is also disclosed by the physicians. Tom pays her a visit and offers to work out a solution to end this. Tom knows he's alive and that Adrian knew Cecilia took birth control and replaced it with something else, so she either divides her inheritance with him or goes back to Adrian with the baby. Cecilia knocks Tom's stuff off the table, allowing her to take a bit of sticky material and one of his quill pens. The news then announces that it will start to rain in a little while. It's pouring outside, days after this. When the chance arises, Cecilia seizes the pen she concealed. As soon as she switches on the shower, she declares clearly that Adrian will not be allowed to have the child. The invisible man snatches her as she starts to sever her wrist with the pen. His suit malfunctions after Cecilia stabs him with the pen. The invisible man tases a guard as he walks in. When further guards arrive, Cecilia tries to flee, but the invisible man mercilessly murders them all. He takes down an additional guard as she takes off with a rifle and steps outdoors into the rain. As they square up, Sydney is threatened with death by the invisible man. After getting a car, Cecilia phones James to make her way back home. When the invisible man shows up, he begins to attack Sydney. However, James shows up and is brutally attacked. When Cecilia gets there, she gives him a fire extinguisher spray before shooting him 4 times. He staggers till he passes out. Tom's identity as the suit's wearer is revealed when Cecilia removes his mask. In the meantime, Adrian is discovered alive and seemingly abducted by Tom when a SWAT squad raids his home. Although Cecilia knows the truth and claims that Adrian's plan was all along to set up his brother to take the fall for him, Cecilia is vindicated since the police believe Adrian was a pawn in Tom's personal agenda. Afterwards, Cecilia contacts Adrian and schedules a visit. Cecilia attends a supper that Adrian has organized at his home. James is waiting for Cecilia to get Adrian to incriminate himself while listening in from outside. The security camera is able to see them in full. When she tells him he can't have the child, Adrian pretends to be kind to her by putting on his fake charm. She says she has to go use the restroom. Adrian is sitting by himself when the knife he is carrying rises and slashes his throat. When Cecilia reappears, she makes a show of crying for the camera, but it's obvious that she killed Adrian with his suit in order to turn the tables on him. James runs to the scene, but Cecilia is adamant that Adrian committed suicide, and James seems to have no choice but to believe her, even though he sees the suit in her suitcase. Now that she is at last free, Cecilia departs with Zeus. We really hope you enjoyed today's recap of The Invisible Man. Please leave a comment below of what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, lights, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.